Our Chicago Cycling Network, and we have somebody today that needs no introduction. Okay, once you guys see her face, you guys know exactly who she is. She's a legend in Chicago, not just Chicago, wherever she rides. She's a legend. Okay, and we're gonna get here about all of her stories and just to learn about her and why she's just an important person in Chicago and one of the gems that we have here that I think is really makes the network an amazing place to be in. And the true story is that, how we were talking before, how we met initially. So I've been hearing the name for the past, 3 years or so. And then I was on a ride on Zwift with Coco. And that's how the person, I was like, hey, I know you. And I started introducing myself. And maybe she was like, this guy's kind of weird. But anyway, I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to you anyway and introduce myself. Mm-hmm. And then finally, we met at a friend's of our bike shop at another filming. But she didn't know this, but inside I was like bubbling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm meeting her for the first time. This is really awesome. But I just had to keep my cool, okay? But I was just like freaking out because I had met you for the first time. I'm being honest. Wow. I was just like freaking out. I'm like, no way, this is the person. But it went fantastic. We spoke and here we are. And I want to let you know that for the thing that you do in Chicago, I appreciate you. And I can tell this from all the people that I've spoken to in Chicago, they truly appreciate you. From the different groups I've talked to, all the females who look up to you, all the cyclists, like you are truly somebody who people look up to and have a lot of respect for. And then just want to say that, again, we really and truly appreciate it in Chicago. For all the viewers, subscribers, guys, thank you so much. And remember, hit that like and subscribe because I'm bringing some amazing content, some amazing people in Chicago. I'm going to keep this going. So thank you guys again for everything. So with no further ado, introduce yourself and we'll get the conversation going and get to the nitty gritty of everything because it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. And man, you guys think you guys do some cool things. She tops it. I thought there some cool things. She tops it. She's even a runner, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on. But yeah, introduce yourself.
So I'm Sarah Rice. And I ride for XXX Racing Athletico. And also I'm the regional brevet administrator of the Chicago Randonneurs. Yeah.
Yeah, so explain what the Randonneurs are. Yeah. People know what XXX is, but let's get into the Randonneurs. Mm-hmm. What are those guys?
So yeah, the Randonneurs, it's a cycling club. And in the sport of randonneuring is long distance, non-competitive cycling. And the reason I'm in both is that your randonneuring club is specific to randonneuring. And there are no sponsors allowed in randonneuring at all.
Oh,
you're not allowed to have sponsors. It's entirely amateur. It's entirely non-competitive. And so when I race for XXX Racing Athletico. That is my racing team, and then my rando club is Shy Randos. And so anybody on Half Acre or 606 or any of the other local teams can also be in our club. There's no conflict of interest there. And so, and the Chicago Randonneurs differ from most cycling teams in the area in two big ways. The first is that you don't have to be fast to go long. Most of the local cycling teams, it's like there's the A group, and the A group does some extra, and the extra might be like 75 or 80 miles, and most of the rest do about 50. And I can't hang with the A group. But you have to be faster to go longer. And in our group, you can be pretty doggone slow. I mean, the time cuts for randonneuring are like 9 miles per hour.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. You can be real slow and still make it. You can't stop if you're going that slow, but the time cuts are generous to accommodate everybody. And the other difference is that we never do the same route twice in a year. Whereas all the other groups, it's like they go back to Highland Park and back, everybody knows the route for XXX. And for us, it's like, wait, which are we doing this time? We just went Chicago to Milwaukee to Chicago, and then we're going to do an Aurora route next time. They're always long. They're at least 62.5 miles or 100 kilometers. But we never do the same one twice in a year.
And how big is the group?
133 members as of this morning.
Wow. And so for each ride, like how many people show up for like a ride?
We had 27 finishers, I think, for the Milwaukee, Chicago, which was 206 miles.
By the way, and that was yesterday.
That was yesterday.
And she's here today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then earlier we were talking about, so that was Saturday, which was yesterday.
Uh-huh.
What did you do on Friday?
Okay. So I am my A event for this season is definitely the Michigami Challenge. Again, I did it last year, and I was so when Tim Falkenberg broke the record by like 19 hours last year, I believe, right? And I was 2 hours behind him. And, I can look back at that race and I could say, here were my mistakes. Here were Tim's mistakes. Here were the other field's mistakes. And I realized they don't have to do with our FTP. And mine's not as good as Tim's. It's like, where are you mentally sharp and where do you get yourself out of binds really quickly? How well do you know the course? That was actually for both of us, that was the key thing. And so I want to come back and win it this year. And
she can do it.
Part of it is, part of it is, okay, get good at the things you're not good at. And so I wanted to practice sleeping outdoors so that I could do camping as part of my Michigami race. Last year, I didn't camp at all. Constrained myself, just hotels. And you lose a lot by doing that. And so I got a bivvy and I slept in the bivvy on my porch on Thursday night after working a long day at work. And got up at 3 a.m. and then pre-rode the first half of the Chicago course up to Milwaukee because I hadn't pre-ridden it and I didn't know if we had any detours or any construction or whatever. Did that at race speed and then, got on the train, came back home, met with one of the doctors who refers to me quite a bit, who I refer to quite a bit, and then afterwards came home, went to bed, and then did it again the next day, but twice.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's what she's saying. Okay, this is like next level legendary. So she slept on her Porsche, got up, rode half the distance, rode from here to Milwaukee, from Chicago to Milwaukee, 103 miles. That was on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. Came back home, did some stuff. Then on Saturday, rode to Milwaukee and back.
Yeah.
And now she's here.
Yeah.
She has energy. She can do this.
Yeah. That's next
training.
Level. Yeah.
I mean, maybe one day I'll try it, but as of now, wow, this is mind blowing. So you mentioned that before we get to that one, could you mention about the Michigami Challenge? Could you explain what the Michigami Challenge is exactly? Because there's a Michigami Challenge and there's a Minigami.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know what exactly is a Michigami
there are 3 weeks left to register. And so if you're thinking about it, get on it. But it is a bikepacking race, self-supported, circumnavigating Lake Michigan. So the Michigami distance is 1,121 miles. And it leaves from Specialized Fulton Market, downtown Chicago. That's where it ends up. And I did it last year. Honestly, didn't know I was going to be in the race. There were some fast guys in there. And I surprised myself by being as good as I was. And it just opened up a full thing. Like, wow, this is great. And Jack Peck does a wonderful job of supporting the race. I mean, there's no support. It's self-supported, but he's on the course all the time. And I never felt unsafe, or I never felt like I knew that he was looking after me, even though I was unsupported. And the course was designed to be as safe as possible to get you around Lake Michigan. There were no places where we were thrown onto busy roads or things like that. It was well done, well thought out. He was always out on course filming, me cussing at him and stuff. And,
I saw the video.
It was just a wonderful experience and just devastatingly beautiful the whole time. And I feel like I know the place that I call home better. I know myself as an athlete better. After that experience, it was amazing. The Minigami is, if you're not ready for the full send of 1,000-mile race, you ride your bike from downtown Chicago up to it's Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and you take the ferry across from Manitowoc to Ludington, Michigan, and then back down. And so it is, it's challenging to get up and ride to the ferry and then ferry across. And then once you take the ferry across, it's a real bike race. It's how far is it? Like 275 or 290 miles ish back from the ferry terminal to downtown. And from there, the top racers will not sleep.
Wow.
And so what they'll do on the Mini is they'll get up to, you have to get to Manitowoc before the evening ferry leaves, or you're out of the race.
Well, you can just do the full if you want. If you miss the show,
yeah, you can just keep going.
Just keep going.
That's what I do, right? Because what the heck? But anyway, you got to get there in time for the evening ferry, and then the ferry takes 4 hours to get across the lake, and then after that, you've got I think it's a 290-mile bike race.
Wow,
and that sounds like the fast guys will go fast the whole time.
That sounds like so much fun.
So Ivy Endurain's in it, and I am like, yeah, that's where my money is. Yeah.
Good.
Because the game is just going to be in beast mode. Like, you got to sleep for 4 hours well on a boat, and then be in beast mode for 290 miles on that one. The Michigami is way more of a wild card. There's just too much that can happen out there over the course of 4 days to know how anybody's race is.
It took about 4 days to complete an entire course.
I was 4 days in 19 hours. Yeah.
You guys went 1,100 miles in 4 days. That's like my monthly mileage. That's next level.
Yeah. And this year, I think it's going to be a more competitive field. I was talking to Tim Falkenberg about it. Both of us think that you're going to have to hold about 400K a day, which is 250 miles, to be competitive in the field. And we both, our race planning has us in that category.
So that's about on the bike for about 10, 11 hours?
Longer than that. For me. Yeah, no, longer than that. More like 18.
18?
Yeah. Yeah.
Non-stop.
Yeah. Well, you got to stop and eat, and hopefully you can eat on your bike.
Yeah. When he's got about 18 hours, it reminds me of the Matrix when Neo was getting loaded up with all those Kung Fu styles. He was like, more. That's how I feel like that's like a long time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you mentioned that a doctor refer patient or something like that people to you earlier. Yep. So what do you do for a living? What do you do for?
I'm a physical therapist.
Outside biking, what do you do?
I am a physical therapist. And my practice focuses on cycling, and I make no secret about the fact that I treat pelvic health, and I treat all genders pelvic. And so if you are a cyclist and you have an issue, especially with your saddle, come and see me. I can help you fix it. I also treat concussion and vestibular, and a whole lot. I treat pretty much everything. But it's a busy, fun practice that I have with Athletico Physical Therapy. I've been there for 4 years. I love the company. I love working there. It's great. They're extremely supportive of me as both a physical therapist and as a cyclist athlete, and as of the crossover between those two.
Yeah. You have the best of both worlds, right? You understand what cyclists go through, and then you can actually help to treat them. That's great.
Yeah. It's a great company to work for, and my patient population is awesome.
So much I'm learning about you today that I have no idea about. So, are you from Chicago originally?
No, I'm originally from Wisconsin.
Don't tell me you're from Milwaukee, because everybody's from Milwaukee.
North of Milwaukee.
Okay.
About 15 miles away from the course. One of my favorite places on the course is in Port Washington, Wisconsin. There's a fish cleaning station with a sign that says, "Please deposit large fish carcasses in the dumpster." The small ones, you can just wash them down the sink.
But the big ones go right here.
And ever since I was a little kid, I thought that sign was just hilarious.
You should take a picture next time for us.
I did on the course. Yeah.
Nice.
I will this time. And I actually, I wrote a route for Run and Years USA that goes from downtown Chicago to the fish cleaning station.
Next time you're going to do it?
That's an official route.
Next time you're going to go, please invite me. I want to go. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I think I'm going Friday. Let's go.
Well,
I'm probably doing it on Friday.
I'm actually going camping. I'm leaving town on Friday.
Yeah.
And we're going to go camping in, I think, Rockwood State Park, close to like Morrison, Illinois. Okay. So that's what we do a lot of camping. This family, we do a lot of camping. So
if you're going to Harrington Beach, we'd be right on the way.
Oh,
but yeah.
I wish. Yeah, but we're leaving on Friday. We're back until Sunday. We might leave on Thursday because Nicole's father my wife's father. It's his birthday,
Mhm.
and he's like, "It's my birthday. Can you guys come early? So we might leave on Thursday evening, so we can spend Friday, Saturday, Sunday
Yeah.
camping. So let's see how that work out."
But I'm from kind of small town Wisconsin,
So you know many
near the
people-
course but not on the course.
Yeah. So now Henry Lutz, he's
Yeah.
from up the Milwaukee way.
Yeah,
I think Simone
yeah.
From
Simone's
the
from
way.
there. Yep.
and Skylar from Legion.
Oh, Skylar is
She's from the-
she's from Milwaukee.
Well, all you guys just come down to Chicago. Like, what's the migration?
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Honestly, southeastern Wisconsin's always had tough cyclists and good bike racers. Isn't Connie Carpenter from there? Yeah.
Maybe somebody.
Connie Carpenter Finney's from there. Like, yeah,
It's-
no, we've
all
had
these
some
people,
heavy
like,
hitters.
Yeah.
And
Why-
Skylar, I mean, she's still famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did promise her that when I
I
met
led
her.
somebody out who beat her in a race once.
Oh, really? Oh,
She
wow.
was 12 and on junior gearing. We literally had to team up to beat her.
No, she's a beast.
She's
I met,
amazing.
I met her a
I love her.
couple years ago, and I think she said she was about to open up a coffee/pastry shop. And I did promise her that whenever I go to Milwaukee, I'm going to find and go say hi to her. This was like about
Tell
3
me
years
where
ago.
it is. I want
Yeah,
to know too.
Her page is somewhere on Instagram. If you go to her page,
Sure.
her Instagram, you might find that she has if she's Slavic. I don't
Oh.
know. But I met her a couple years ago, and I told her if I go to Milwaukee, I'm going to come straight to your shop. And then I think in June we're going to drive through Milwaukee because we're going to go to Newberry for vacation. And if Newberry is way up there, close to Canada. So we got like an Airbnb. We're going to be here for a couple of days.
cool.
So we're driving up. It's like a 7-hour drive
Okay.
from here to here. So I know you guys going pretty close to Newberry on the way back on the Michigan Challenge. It's like you guys maybe go a little bit south of it, but you guys go through that's the name I remember.
Yeah. Stay sort of in the south end of the Upper Peninsula.
Correct, but we're like on the north of that.
Yeah.
So you guys go within maybe 15 miles or so.
Okay.
Where I'll be. So that's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah. So all right. So how many bikes do you have?
How many bikes? Currently 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Which is your favorite? You have a favorite?
Oh yeah, Louis, bar none. Like that's honestly the 2023 Roubaix that I got is my favorite bike I've ever had. It's the best performing bike I've ever had in every way.
So it's more of a road, gravel, cross.
I use it for everything. It can clear 43s, I think, 45s. And so if I want to ride gravel, which after I finish Michigami Challenge, I'm going to do the Driftless Dagger, which is Jack Peck's other race.
Exactly.
Which you want to sign up for that one too. So anyway, I'm going to do the Driftless Dagger. And so I'm going to switch gears and do a lot of gravel. All I'm doing to the bike is I'm going to put 38 Pathfinders on it and blow them up and away we go. And then it's a gravel bike.
So what kind of gearing are you running on these bikes? Are they
right now it's 50. It is 46, 34 up front and 10, 36 in the back.
Oh, that's a lot of gears.
Yeah, it's fine.
That can take you across everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of my bikes here, they run 53 or 54 on the front. And then I realized that there's not much hills where I bike here in Chicago, so I'm either running 1125 or 1128 because there's nothing to climb. And if I need to change my gearing to something going out west, I might do like 1130. But other than that, I don't really need. But for what you do, you need all the stuff. I don't. Need all the stuff.
I like a gear that can what I call go negative. So where your front is smaller than your back. Like 34, 36 is a good gear to have if it's going to pitch up to 20% on gravel. And if you need more than that, you probably are better off walking. And there's no shame in that. Here's the thing: you got to eat, you got to change your position every once in a while if you're doing ultra stuff. And so if you're slower than walking, it doesn't make sense to get up that hill.
Yeah. So the first time I did a gravel race / ride was the Rafa 10,000. It wasn't my bike. And I didn't know what I was doing. It's my first. I didn't understand anything about gear and whatever. So I borrowed a friend of mine bike, and I'm kind of retarded a little bit. Not like that, but I mean, I did some stupid stuff where I was climbing those hills in 50, 30.
Oh.
And I was just like, like this. Every time I put a point on the bike, the wheel just spins out. And I was like, what am I doing? And I'm like, wait a minute. I can go down to my lower gear and get more cadence and go better. And then finally I understand it. So I was with Anna Marie Oswald and a bunch of guys from Triple X, and they don't realize that I didn't know what I was doing. But because of this, I was like just racing up the hills and then stop and wait. And they come and they race. And by the way, I've learned now. So once you do gravel now.
Well, it's actually, I mean, I feel like gravel cycling is a lot like ultra running in that you don't want to burn your matches going uphill. You know, I mean, when I did ultra running, you walk up the hills. You don't race up the hill. I mean, it's just going to redline your heart rate. You really want to keep that pretty even. And then, you know, when you go down the hill, though, you don't loaf. And when you go straight, you want to be in zone 2, and 2 is not 1. You know, it's not like, you know, you're loafing. You're actually working.
But isn't the rule of when you're racing, you want to always be redlining? That's how you're going to win. Isn't that the rule?
Well,
because that's what when I was racing, we call it, you go balls to the wall. No matter what. When it's a 5K, a mile, or 50K, it's always like, you know, you do your numbers and know your zones are, but I'm always like pushing really, really hard.
Yeah, not anymore.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. I mean, it feels good to open it up like every once in a while on a ride. You know, I did have one hill where it was straight. We were going up a hill that had a dead stop at the bottom right before we were going up, and there were these guys that were out. I think they were drinking, and, you know, they just started cheering their heads off for us. And so, I mean, as we're going up the hill, there's no traffic. I took it into a full sprint for them. Just to show off.
Them up, of course.
Well, they're cheering for us.
And then you're like,
what am I going to do now?
Once you pass them, you're like,
oh man, I'm old now. I was like, yeah, we're going to take 5 minutes real slow. But no, you really want to you want to be very familiar with your zone 2. And you don't want to, like, on super long things, you know, if you're like, well, I'm going to park it in tempo all day, that's going to be your last day. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. It happens to people.
Yeah, I know sometimes we go into race with these naive perceptions of where fitness is and all these different things, and you push toward, burn yourself up. Something you burn them all your match, and you also burn the box. So nothing, right? So again, it takes experience and to go through some trial, like or you're actually sleeping on your porch to kind of get a feeling of what it really takes to climatize and to get myself, okay, if I'm going to do this race for 4 days, I got to be outside. So, hey, I'm going to go sleep on my porch. I mean,
how do I feel on my bike after I sleep in this position? Can I race in that position? Yeah. Because that's a whole lot of it. And with the ultra stuff too, you know, you can ride your bike as fast as you want, but when you talk to people who don't finish ultra events about what it was that took them down, hardly ever is it like, well, I was racing this other guy and his FTP was 5 points higher than mine. Like, that's a thing in road racing. It is not a thing in ultra racing. Yeah. No, you'll lose because you made a mistake. You know, I lost to Tim because of a navigation error.
I bet, but it won't happen again, though.
No. It could. It's a long course. Yeah.
But don't you have the map on your Garmin or something?
Yeah, but it was detoured, and there was a point at which it was detoured, and we were together at that point. And Tim thought that you could cut through. His offline maps were loaded and worked. I swear to God, I had loaded the offline maps on my phone for the whole course. But when I went to get the map of where I was, it wasn't there. And at that point, you know, if you're in a self-supported bikepacking race, the only fair thing to do is say, no. So I can't follow him through the woods and take advantage of the fact that another racer knows where he's going. And so what I did was I just kind of backed up in that moment. I thought, what would I do if he wasn't here? And I thought I'd take the detour 15 miles around. And I took a 15-mile detour. Tim hiked his bike for about 600 yards through this brush, ended up on a road the other side.
Oh, man.
And that gave him the gap. Yeah, he extended a little bit, but not much.
You're like, Tim, I know you, but I'm not going in the bush with you like this.
Honestly, it was like a little bit, we were both a little bit tired. This is like, you know, we were mostly riding together, but every once in a while, one of us would throw something, you know, and so we would hit a long straight section, and I knew my bike was faster than his on long straight sections. And I would just bury it in the aero bars. and go ahead enough to where you had to really work to catch me. Like, I'm going to make you burn a match. Let's see what you got. So he catches on, and then we hit like a nasty gravel ruddy section, and he's like, I'm going to blast it and see if you can hang. And so we're throwing little like jabs at each other.
It's like a chess game.
And each of us, I think, I was starting to get a little tired by that point, and I didn't want to. I mean, I wish that I had told him, like, you know what, I'm going to go around and take the detour, regardless of what you do here, because this is what I would do. You know, I didn't have that conversation. I don't think I was coherent enough to have that conversation at the time. But what I did is I just went. I left, and then he went looking for me, and I feel bad about that. You know, that there wasn't like enough communication on my end that, you know, I need to do my own thing. But that's how we got split up. And I knew that one of us was going to make a mental mistake at some point, and I'm sizing him up, and I'm like, yeah, it's going to be me, because this guy doesn't make as many mistakes as I do.
The question is, it's the same course, right? It's the same course every year, right?
I believe it is, in theory.
Other than maybe like small detours here and there.
There's always detours. There's always curveballs, and you got to be ready for it. It's just part of the race. Yeah. And so definitely have your offline maps. Check them and make sure, and don't let your phone update or do anything weird. Yeah.
And how do you charge your stuff when you have like a charger pack and stuff like that?
Yeah. You've got to carry like a charger with you for any electronics that you have. Some people run dynamo hubs. I've done the math, and for a rider of my body weight, the amount of resistance to a dynamo hub is not worth it. Like, it's worth it having extra weight and carrying batteries. So the batteries are kind of a pain. And so, yeah, you carry a battery pack for your stuff. If you're in a place where you can charge it, you charge it, like when you go down for the night.
So down for the night. So do you guys stay in hotels, or just like this camp?
It's anything goes on Michigami. And so last year I did all hotels. This year I want to be able to camp or do hotels, because it opens up flexibility in terms of how far you can go and where you can sleep. For me, the all hotels option ended up being extraordinarily expensive, because I was a lot faster than I thought I would be. And so I arrived at my hotel in Michigan City on the opposite side of the bridge from the Upper Peninsula to the lower part of Michigan. I arrived at that hotel before I was able to check in. It is 2 p.m. I had projected that I would be there at 10 p.m. And so at that point, I canceled all the hotels on the backside of the course. You know, you get what money you can back, but they usually don't refund you. And then I had to book, you know, new ones where I booked. Yeah, and so the booking of hotels in advance was a mess.
Yeah, this sounds like a crazy, truly amazing experience, and a lot of logistics and all these different things.
Yeah, I'm targeting another race for next year, which is Transamerica by Bike Nonstop.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, if you have any plans for this year, but so you're planning all the way into next year.
Yeah. So that's not a 1-year plan kind of thing if you've never done it before. And so Transamerica by Bike Nonstop is run by, I should remember the race director's name, and I don't, and that's upsetting me. But anyway, if you Google Tabn, T-A-B-N, Transamerica by Bike Nonstop, you'll pull it up. I like that thing because it's unsupported, self-supported, and it's a checkpoint race similar to the Transcontinental race in Europe, but in the United States. And the race director has gone to the trouble of actually identifying safe roads and routes for cyclists throughout the US. And I have a lot of respect for that. I just like where his mindset is on that. And I looked at the route. I like the route. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. But one of their rules is that you're not actually allowed to make arrangements in advance.
Okay.
So I'm going to follow those rules for Michigami and not book hotels, because I need to face what I'll be facing at Tabn. And it goes right through the Teton National Park. And so that's going to be booked solid in June when the race is, and you've got to figure it out.
So that's in Wyoming?
Yeah.
It's a Teton. So I'm like, I've been to Jacksonville before, so I'm like, oh, Teton.
It's busy.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping there unless you do it illegally, which I'm not above that. Don't tell them.
She didn't say that.
Yeah, I didn't say that. That's not a part of it. But really, yeah. I mean, that's the advantage of having a bivvy, is that you can cowboy camp in a subtle way for, lay down for an hour or two. And
I think an hour or two should
Yeah.
be okay, right?
the thing you're thinking also is that one of the most costly things that can happen on an ultra race is if it rains really hard and all your stuff gets wet. Because, what are you going to do? Go to a laundromat and sit there while it dries? That's time. Or go to a hotel, pay for that, and lay down while it dries? Or it costs you a lot of time to get your things dry on a race if you get them wet.
So the question is, so what's the motivation behind you doing all these ultra stuff versus doing like more shorter road race?
That's what I'm good at. Yeah. And it always has been that way. Even when I was a crit racer, I was better when it was long, and I was better in bad weather. Like when the conditions threw opportunities.
So what crit races have you done? I mean,
Oh man.
did you have any the Intelligentsia stuff or?
Yeah. I did some Intelli, I did some Toad. I did Speed Week. And that's down south. I really like the Quad Cities races, Snake Alley, Melon City, and the Burlington Criterium, which I think is now something else.
Wow.
It used to be a really cool, like, super twisty cornery course, and they turned it into a 4-corner crit. And I'm like,
boring.
I'm like, yeah. I want more corners than that. I won't win if it's a 4-corner crit.
Wow. Ultras, crits.
But
it's been a while. You've been biking for quite some time. How long have you been biking for? How many years?
Cycling specifically since 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I did running before that, and then triathlon briefly.
Yeah, I was talking about that because you mentioned before that you do running. So you were like you start as a runner first, and then switch over to
actually as a swimmer.
Swimmer.
Yeah, I was a collegiate swimmer.
Where do you swim? Were you into college?
University of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a collegiate swimmer, and then I started running just for fitness. I wasn't any good. Well, I got fast enough to qualify for Boston, but this was back years and years ago.
Hey, it don't matter.
In 2005, it was easier to qualify for Boston.
If you BQ, you BQ. No matter.
Yeah, I did Boston.
Okay.
I did Boston.
You did Boston.
And I also did JFK, which was a 50-mile ultra marathon race. And the thing is, the longer it was, the better I was at it. Even back then, I got a
You're like Dean Cordassus or whatever is the guy's name.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
So
this.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that sometimes when you're biking, you're sleeping and biking, like Dean, because they said Dean like sleeps while he runs.
So people ask me about that a lot, and that was the thing that actually the thing that tortured me on the last day of Michigami was sleeping. Is I could tell when I heard the conversations that weren't really happening that I had about 2 or 3 minutes to get off the bike before I would fall off. And I'd get off the bike, I'd turn my helmet backwards, lay down. Backwards helmet is a really comfortable pillow. I would be dreaming in a minute, in crazy dreams, precisely a 6-minute nap. And then get up, feel pretty refreshed, to get back on the bike. And at Michigami, about an hour later, it would happen again. About an hour later, it would happen again. I was under fueling and under caffeinating. And it took me 140 miles to figure this out. But that was brutal. It was 10 really rough hours on the bike. But I will, I think there's an Instagram photo of me taking a nap on yesterday's ride that's making the rounds.
Okay, I need to find
the backwards helmet nap is clutch.
No, I learned. I'm going to try that. I've never even thought about putting my helmet backwards and go for a nap. So now I know.
Yeah. You got to tip it upside down, and then it's perfectly comfortable because the part of the helmet that's designed to slip in an impact actually makes this beautiful pillow. Yeah, you got to try it. It's actually awesome.
So what triathlons did you do?
Triathlons?
Yeah.
Oh, I did Door County. That's my favorite one by far. And my husband is actually doing that race this year on July 12th, which is a big day because that is also the Michigami Challenge Grand Depart. And it's the day before our 29th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congrats.
And at this point in our marriage, we're like, all right, you're racing your thing, I'm racing my thing. Good, see ya.
I just celebrated my 10th anniversary, on the 14th. And the crazy thing is, me and my wife, we forget our anniversary almost every year. If our in-laws remind us, we forget because we're so busy with life, and we do so many things
Yeah.
together. Like we just remember. Like yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're kind of like that too. And so he's racing, I'm racing, and he can dot watch me, and I'll hear from the Chicago Tri Club that we're both members of, like how he's doing. And so we definitely are fans of each other. I thought about
But that's the way it should be,
diverting
right? That's
from
the way it should be.
Michigami Challenge and going to see him race, but he's 100 miles off course.
Yeah. That's
I'm like,
that's like a good 7 hours maybe or
I'm
so.
not going to win if I take a 100-mile detour. Yeah, that's just
And he's been riding for how long? He's been riding as long as you are. It's something new.
about the same. Yeah, we met in college swimming together, and then I started running. He had a knee injury and a knee surgery, so he started running maybe a year after I did. And we both started triathlon at the same time. And the thing is that as a triathlete, I thought the bike would be my weak link because I was a collegiate swimmer and I ran Boston. The bike was better than either of those by a lot. And my friends were like, hey, you need to start bike racing. I'm like, well, I don't want to die. And do you know who Katie Iserman is? Or yeah. So she's like, you want a legend in Chicago cycling, Katie Iserman. So
I think, did I not interview her?
if you haven't, you have to. Anyway, yeah. So she's great. And she was pushing me to start bike racing. I wrote her this long email about how I'm never going to bike race because I don't want to die. And like, it was 2 weeks before I was like at my first like practice criterium, which, the person I remember the most is Joe Bereni, who is a wonderful person, still out there biking. I see him every once in a while. And he is an Olympic, Paralympic gold and silver medalist, highly decorated Paralympic athlete. And so you're scared you're going to die because you're racing your first crit ever. You're like, boy, I see this dude. He literally, like, he's got this big rough beard and he's a little bit, dark hair and everything. He looks like Satan. And he's got this ripped up kit on and he's clearly a very strong bike racer and he's missing an arm. And I'm like, holy God, oh boy, this is rougher than I thought. And of course he sees me and he sees that I'm terrified of him, that I feel that he might have lost his arm in a cycling crash. And he starts laughing at me. Then he taught me how to corner with one hand. And I'll tell you that, at my best in competitive cycling, I was a domestique who was going back to cars and like getting bottles for riders. I was very comfortable controlling the bike with my left hand because Joe had showed me, and so things come around.
Yeah. This is the circle of life.
Yeah. Anyway, that was where I started there, and with Toddy Cycles and Jay Toddy, another legend in Chicago cycling.
We're gonna find all these. We're gonna
yeah. These are old OGs.
Yeah.
Jay was, the thing I liked about Jay is that he taught his female racing crew to race aggressively. And I was like, no, you're not going to just try to hang your first crit. You're attacking the start. Because if you want to win, attacking the start is a better bet than lining up at back like, well, I'm just going to try to stay with the group.
Yeah, staying with the group sometimes can be tricky because the acceleration and everything. When you're front, you can control the pace better. You can be out of all the stuff behind you and all the different things. So,
and in bike racing, it's like if you're not continuously moving up, you're moving back. And so you don't want to start with the plan of hanging with the pack, or you're moving back from there. You want to start with the plan of like, I'm attacking the start, and then they're all going to have to pass me in order for me to like fall off the back.
That's so funny. So it was a different mindset. And I feel like it really did me some favors teaching me to race with an aggressive mindset. Yeah. So you mentioned that this guy with one arm taught you out the corner. Crazy thing is, when I first picked up bike, I learned how to change a bike tire from a guy who had no arms.
Oh wow!
His name is Hector Picard from Miami. He does triathlons and everything. No arms. Look him up. Hector Picard. The crazy story about Hector Picard. So in that movie with all the zombie people, it was a big series on Netflix or whatever it was on. There's a scene where this the Walking Dead.
Okay.
There's a scene where this black lady has like two zombies next to her, He's one of them.
Oh, awesome.
Like no joke, because he has no arms and
he's got
everything.
no arms, so
He's one of them.
do that.
That was not makeup. That was really
Oh my
that was really
God.
random Picard.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's like man, it's interesting stuff. Yeah, so tell me, so what keeps you going? I mean, you're doing all these amazing things. Like what keeps you going?
I just really like what I do every day. So life, I mean, right now, I mean, my life is pretty much centered around fitness and cycling, and I like it that way. When I'm not on the bike, I'm very often helping other people get back on the bike. So or back to life, you know, as a PT, and that's really fun. I like getting people there, you know what I mean? It's like what, you know, my favorite question that I ask of every single patient that I have as a PT is, what are your goals? What drives you? What makes you tick? What's cramping your style? Like you're here because you hurt doing the things you like to do. What do you want to be doing? And you kind of have to draw it out of them. They're like, oh, you're going to think this is nuts. But I'm like, oh yeah, try me. And they tell me what they want to do. We unlock it. We work backwards from where we are. It's like, or from where we want to be. And we kind of work backwards to where we are. Like, how are we going to get from here to there? I love that. And that's what I do with a lot of my time with people.
So how many patients do you typically have, or
So,
an average?
It depends. I see about 30 a week.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So that's 30.
That means you must be really, really good. That means she's really, really good.
I mean, it's my schedule is pretty full, but I give people in. I mean, especially cyclists who come to see me. The practice is really good about diverting other folks to the other therapists as much as possible, and then if they're cyclists, they send them to me.
And what's your location?
Lincoln Park South, which is 2000 North Clybourne in Chicago, and so it's right next to a Petco. Yeah.
All right, easy.
Yeah,
easy to find.
And there's a parking lot. It's But anyway, so I get to do that with a lot of my time. It's just the logistics of saying, well, where are you now, and where do you want to get to, and how do we get from here to there, right? And the funny thing is that in randonneuring, that's also all I do. Like, okay, we have to get from here downtown Chicago to the Calatrava Art Museum in Milwaukee. What's the best way to get there with everybody who's with me with a smile on their face? You know, what pace we're gonna ride? Is everybody fueled? Everybody's got lights. You know, where are we gonna stop that's gonna accommodate tastes and stuff, and kind of a concierge role.
Yeah, so I guess we're not gonna ever see a WNR or anything like that, right? Or what?
Oh, for us?
Wednesday night? No, for you. Will I ever see a Wednesday night ride?
No, because I work Wednesday nights. Yeah.
What about Monday night ride?
I work Monday through Thursday until 8.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I work Monday through Thursday till 8, and then I'm off Friday through Sunday. Because
now I'm experiencing these new rides. So there's a Monday night ride, there's a Tuesday night ride from touring. Mm-hmm. There's Wednesday night ride. There's like the 5:30, 5:45. There's assignment one.
They're all great rides.
Oh yeah. Then Thursday there is the Jollibee. There is what else is on Thursday? Spiteful with Evolution. Yep. Friday mornings I'm with Cortado, and Saturday is like either ride at Cortado, Plaza, Lighthouse. Yeah, Sunday might be Evolution. When things warm up, it's too cold. I'm not doing outside. It's too cold now for me. I'm a trainer.
I mean, honestly, I work late every night, and a lot of that is because of my patient population is going to be, cyclists, and especially treating pelvic health. I treat a lot. I mean, I treat all genders pelvic, and there are very few pelvic health therapists that actually treat males, and so they always want to come in after work.
It's perfect timing.
Yeah. Everybody else does too, kind of, but just my patient population, that late slot is really in demand. And so I prefer to. I like working those hours.
So how long have you been being a PT for now?
4 years.
4 years. What did you do before that?
Oh God.
I know.
Really want to know?
Yeah, a little bit. Just touch a little bit on it, so people know.
I was a tenured professor of cell molecular biology at Northwestern.
Wow. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, some of them did. Maybe.
I knew a little bit about it, so that's how I wanted to touch on it. So you're tenured. So now you so what? Okay.
So, well,
It was a switch. I mean,
yeah,
I want to learn. I
true.
want to learn. I want to learn. Like,
Yeah,
was a switch
yeah.
like something like, you know what? I want to do something else. I mean,
Yeah,
tenured.
well,
I mean, tenure is huge.
that's it is, but the thing that's more important than job security, in my opinion, is are you advancing where you are? Like, are you getting better in what you're doing or not? Are you still learning or not? And I got to a point with that job where all the information is going this way because I'm just writing for grant after grant after grant after grant. No information is coming this way. And I pulled a vacuum. I mean, I really hadn't learned anything in a very long time.
And what were you? What
I
were
got
you
to the
working
point that I worked on molecular motor proteins. So they're
like kinesins and all these different
the
things.
mechanism by which kinesin walks down microtubules was my PhD thesis.
I know this. So
I don't. I'm surprised to hear you say the word kinesin, but that's actually my PhD thesis.
I think
Yes.
man, this guy from UT Western, Tanigawa. So he was actually making these videos to see how these things when kinesin actually taking their cargo, do they walk like this?
Yeah.
Or they walk like this, then this, and this, and this. They make all these videos.
That was me, man. Read the papers.
I know you work. I read these papers when I was in grad school.
Read those papers. Read the papers.
This is what I do now. So when I was in grad school, I had to read I took Tanigawa's class and all these guys from UT Southwestern. They were doing all these kinesin and I know.
No, Tanigawa was a good guy. I remember him.
Microtubules and everything. And then if you can disrupt microtubule, it can kill cancer cells and all different things. So I know a little bit about that.
That's awesome. I mean, it was fun. Back when we were doing this, it was really fun. And that was at UC San Francisco. And the truth is that I was in a position where all I did was, like, I had to write grants to pay for my lab, to pay for everything. And there was no room for a sabbatical. And there was not a real mechanism for that. And so it's not, I mean, there's no polite way to say this, but I don't think that my old job at Northwestern should have ever existed because it was just an eat what you kill kind of position with NIH grants.
That's like science, man.
I mean,
like
the current administration is kind of getting rid of it anyway. And I mean, I don't feel like that's necessarily right, but and at this point, what happened with me is that I just, I hadn't learned anything new in a long time. And I was looking at my career and I was looking at my students and the fact that my students had better ideas than I had and they couldn't get jobs and I had a job. And that I felt that the young students were not getting jobs in science because people were lasting too long. I'm saying a lot of things that are going to just lather my colleagues up. But you know what? Go ahead.
You know what?
Come at me. They've always known I was kind of a jerk.
We're both in the sciences because that's what I do. And what you're saying is actually making sense because I was at a point where I see all my friends, like we have the rule is called publish or perish, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I've been there.
And then you get to the point where you start writing these papers and people are like, oh, I published like 5 papers this year and 10 papers this year. I'm like, but what did we learn? Yeah. How did we move science forward?
My God, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
and I've had friends who left grad school, quick 3-year postdoc, became faculty, were killing for 3-5 years, and then done. You're out.
Yeah.
And I took my time where finished grad school. I got my PhD in like 4.5 years from UT Southwestern, in neuroscience, one of the top labs in UT Southwestern, Elia Bespersvani. I was taught by Tom Suda. He's a Nobel Prize winner. I know that guy. Yeah. I know Bronan Goldstein. I know Al Gilman when he was alive. I know Dustin Hoffner. I've met Craig Mello. I met all these guys. Yeah. I used to rub shoulders with these guys. But then it's like, what am I advancing? Am I really making a difference? And now, I mean, I'm living here now. And I learned, I was in neuroscience. Then I went to a fly lab. I was in fly brain, taking fly brain, looking at Alzheimer's and all the different things, learning about inulays and all these different things. Then I was brought in to kind of combine neuroscience and cancer. Then I basically stick to cancer research. I know I do ovarian cancer research. We're focused on the fallopian tube because now we think the fallopian tube is where ovarian cancer is beginning. I remember giving a lecture in my first year in 2018, and I mentioned this, and one person's like, big shot guy was like, "Don't know what you're talking about. It's not a fallopian tube." Now we work with fallopian tube. And in the beginning, he was like, but now. So you see, as you're saying, you get to a point, probably get stuck.
You know
and I think, and I think So we were using, for example, vitamin D in the lab to study. We're using the active form of vitamin D. Wasn't doing anything. One day I was like, hey, let's try like cholesterol or something like that, 25 hydroxy. That wasn't having an effect. It caused apoptosis. And I was like, what? All this time we've been pushing on cholesterol. We'll try something new, and now it's doing something. So again,
cool.
you have to change the way you think.
Yeah,
a lot in science.
And you've got to walk away from a problem and approach different. I mean, my husband is still in science, and he does like a whole bunch of different things. And I think it's a healthier place for a scientist who's going to last in it long term. Whereas I had to be very focused because, like, you have to get the grant.
Exactly right. You have to get the grants.
And so anyway, my students were more. I mean, they had better ideas than I had, and they couldn't get jobs. I had a job, and I was like, maybe if I retire early,
you could open up
a space, right? And so I that became kind of like, well, I'm going to retire early, and I'm going to retire at 50. And truly, I mean, the fact that I wanted to retire at 50 meant that I probably didn't like what I was doing, which is the truth. I mean, I liked bench science. I did not like managing a lab.
Yeah.
And I'm okay saying that now. I had enough therapy. But anyway, so I ended up having a terrible cycling.
On the politics.
Oh, I dodged a thermonuclear warhead. Oh my God. But anyway, like with cycling, I mean, I had a bad crash in cycling. And ended up in PT for a long time. I was like, wow, this is the happiest thing in my life. I could do this. I sat down with my PT. I had a conversation. What's it take to become a PT? And I did it. And
wow.
I'm completely happy. I really like what I do. Yeah.
So you did bachelor's at UC Chicago. Yep. What did you do your PhD?
UC San Francisco. Postdoc at Stanford. 14 years on the faculty at Northwestern, including tenure. Quit. Joined Northwestern's Department of Physical Therapy and Human Movement Sciences as a PT student in 2017 and graduated in 2020.
Wow. I love it that you didn't afraid to take risk and you're able to walk away from BS. if it's not fulfilling. I mean, I like that because sometimes, I see people like, oh my God, I'm so unhappy, and like, do something about it. Yeah,
I was privileged to have that. Like, my husband had a very stable job. We didn't have kids to support. So there was something to help me with, but I could take a risk. I could burn it all down, and it actually ended up being great for everybody. I mean, I feel like I was at a point where my students were graduating. The grants were going to finish up at just about the right time. There was time for a tidy exit there. Mm-hmm. And I did it, and never. How many
PhD students did you put out?
7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and several of them were MD PhDs, and
those mud fuds.
Mud fuds. The fact is but the inspiration that they drew from their clinical work actually, I think, rubbed off on me, because I realized that the clinic is not just someplace where it's not a factory. You learn a lot from your patients. And, a couple times a week, my patients have me like, you always look like you're reassuring. And inside your head, you're like, I have no freaking clue what's going on with this patient. Oh my God. And, then you go home and you read like crazy, call all your friends like, hey, have you ever seen this? And then, you figure something out and you go to the patient the next time, you do a little better. And there's an iterative process with some of the tougher cases. And the thing is that patients, at first I'm like, how can you don't want to appear ignorant in front of your patient even when you are. But the fact is, patients don't care how much you know. They actually want to know how much you care. And it means more to them that you were like, you know what? When we talked on Tuesday, I had no freaking clue what was going on with you, but I read some stuff, and does this make sense to you? You share with them, and they're like, yeah, so I'm really thinking about this. That you're thinking about their problem means more to them than a confident answer that might be wrong.
Right. So, I mean, this we teach students that, hey, if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. Like we did the qualifiers, don't BS, because they know.
Don't ever BS.
Don't ever BS. Yeah. Don't make up magical science, okay? Don't drink bleach. that's bad for you.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
In either career, you're not allowed to BS.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's be real about it. We have the commonality. So again, I knew about this from people that I've spoken to, and I was like, I'm gonna see if she want to talk about it, because I was mind blown when I found out. I was like, what? She was really?
I tend to refer to the career at Northwestern as my old job, and nothing more. And it's just because I don't. I still publish in the clinical literature, but I didn't preserve any of my identity or really any of it as a biochemist at all. And the one exception is that I still support my students when they need it, but we're to the point that they don't. They don't need me anymore. But I try to support them with good advice, but as far as like staying current with biochemistry, that's not something I could do and become a really good physical therapist. My brain completely switched.
Science is changing, and I can tell you from where I've come from learning, did my PhD, my thesis on Alzheimer's disease and calcium signaling, and trying to convince people of all this. And the things is, now I am learning stuff about like ovarian cancer, fallopian tube biology, the role of vitamin D and progestins, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought I knew a lot, but I can tell this: the more I learn, is the more I realize I know nothing.
Right. Yeah.
But then you have all these Facebook experts who knew that this is. I'm like, no, it don't work like that. I'm sorry, I've been here for quite some time, and it's not that. But anyway, that's another story. So is there any connection with you and Rice University?
No.
Just
none whatsoever.
I was wondering if you own it or something, because that's your last name.
Absolutely none whatsoever. Yeah,
I had many friends who went to Rice University.
Oh yeah, so down in Houston.
It's a fantastic school. I got a few friends who went to Rice. So, anything you want to leave us with before we wrap up? I mean, it's been fantastic. Learn a lot of things.
Actually, yes. There's one thing that I definitely want to mention, which is that our club, Chicago Randonneurs, if you're interested in the club, but you're like, I don't know if I want to ride really, really far with these people, please join us for Bike MS, which is going to be in Maple Park, Illinois, June 21st and 22nd. And if you go on our website, chicagorando.org, there will be a button on the website for Join Chicago Randos at Bike MS. You don't have to be a member of our club or any club at all to join us. Most of us will be doing the long routes because that's the way we roll, but there are also like 25 and 50 mile routes. And we even have like a promo code for that waives the entry fee as long as you meet there's a $300 fundraising minimum for Bike MS. And if you put your Bike MS thing on social media, you'll hit that minimum pretty easily. But it's a really fun couple of days. You'll get to know the randos. You can hear all the crazy stories. And the way we run it is, we've done a few events already, and so we've got some good stories already. And then Phil Fox, who is kind of my co-founder of the Chicago Randonneurs group, is going to try to take down his 4th of 5 Great Lakes world records. He has done Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario, and he's taken down Lake Huron on June 7th, I think, that weekend. And then a couple of weeks later, we're going to do Bike MS. And so you get to hear all the stories and everything. And I'm saying, please join us if you're interested and don't have a team. The Bike MS ride is June 21st, 22nd. And if you need a ride, if you need a room, if you need help just kind of logistically, reach out. We'll get you set up. But we want you to ride with us.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a challenge for the guy's name. I have a challenge for him. He needs to ride the Caspian. Phil. Yeah. Need to ride the Caspian Sea.
He needs to ride what?
Ride the Caspian Sea. It's called a sea, but it's a lake. You can go around it.
Oh, once he's done with the Great Lakes, he might be looking for other stuff to do.
Caspian Sea. That's your next challenge.
Yeah. No, you want a guy who's good at being stupid. It's Phil.
All right, Phil. That's a challenge.
It's the Huron. The Huron one is tough. It's over 1,000 miles, and Phil will do it without sleeping. And the way we met was that I was his medic for Race Across America. And so he's on the bike, I'm in the car. But he he had never done it before. He was a rookie racer with an entirely rookie crew, all out of Chicago. And he completed the race, and he was actually got the Rookie of the Year award.
Wow.
Because he was the top first-time finisher in the whole race. And we were up there. I mean, there are people who do RAM like 5 years trying to make it to the finish line. They never make it to the finish line. And here we are, all first-timers, like, wow, we're here and you're not. But he did a phenomenal job on it. And then he's going for his fourth of 5 Great Lakes. He raises money for MS. That's the cause that for us is really like, that's our cause. Because all of us kind of in the leadership of Chicago Randos know people who are impacted by MS. And we also know, I mean, because you're in the field,
yeah,
how we're doing on curing MS. I mean, I'm absolutely impressed with where the research is going, with where the treatments are going. I mean, it's your donations to Spike MS are actually like gaining traction. This is a disease that will be, I mean, maybe not eradicated completely, like you might have it, but it'll be well managed to the point that it's not impacting quality of life, I believe, within a generation.
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing things.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
we're getting there with MS.
I've done some mock proposal when I was in grad school, looking at remyelination, and and I remember studying Alexander disease. Look at GFAP. So I remember all those things coming back to me now. So I did all these things in my past life, and a lot of guys from University of Miami, I think a lot of them are MS, looking at remyelination and all the different things that they study. So
right, and now the connection with Epstein-Barr virus and MS is actually opening other therapeutic doors, and so this is something. I mean, I really truly believe we're a generation away from MS not being a big deal.
Just with AI now too, so and this is
so great.
Thinking and,
yeah. So anyway, we're very excited to support that cause. So June 21st, 22nd, Maple Park, Illinois. Go to chicagorando.org and you'll be able to join our team and ride with us and experience it.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. You guys met Sarah Rice. I know you guys have heard about her. I've heard about her long before we met. Long before I stalked her on Zwift. And then we met in person. I'm a fan. Chicago is a fan. She has done it all. Triathlons. She's a collegiate swimmer, ultra, runner, biking. She's done everything. Used to be a professor. Now she's in PT. What's next? Maybe she can become I don't know, maybe an astronaut next, maybe. I don't know. You never know.
I'm going to win the Michigami Challenge.
Michigami Challenge. Hey, I like that.
How about that?
She said it. Okay, something you gotta speak it into existence, as they say. So
that's the plan at this point. Yeah,
all the best. All the best. Thanks for coming and sharing with us. And guys, we have people like Sarah Network, guys. Amazing people, amazing times. We learned a lot about Sarah today, guys. And as